My Media Prime TV, the African Eye.
Welcome to the agenda with me, Lasha Kingsley in Douala, Cameroon. On today's edition of the program, we are receiving the Secretary General of the Popular Action Party in the person of Fabrice Lena. Fabrice Lena just toured some major regions of the country in a bid to try to lay down foundation stones ahead of major elections in the country. The question we are asking today is, what is the role of the young person in changing the political narrative of Cameroon? Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Wonderful introduction.
Fabrice Lena, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the agenda. This is your very first time that we are having you on this platform. We are glad you honor our invitation, sir.
Thank you very much, Sir Lasha Kingsley. I am honored to be your guest in this very noble program. I want to use this platform to greet all the viewers of My Media Prime TV in Bamenda, in Boya, in Manfe, in Kumba, in Limbe, and in Santa in particular, of Pinin, of Apum, of Baligam, who are putting their head together to see how this subdivision could move ahead, especially from the Machiavellic plans of the Yaoundé regime, who will always want to impose their will, and to also greet all young people out there which are trying within their capacity in their own different organizations, in their different activities, in their different political organizations, to see that the political narrative of Cameroon change for better. And as it is often said, small efforts put positively, collectively, with honesty and truth will always yield fruits, not now but later.
Okay, Fabrice Lena, you will be wondering, many people are wondering, like myself, the way the young people are going about changing the political narrative of Cameroon. Many people have accused the young people of getting involved in politics, and whenever they want to get into probably nation building, they do it the wrong way. What concretely do you think is the way forward to, engaging the young person in changing the political narrative of Cameroon? We all know the war ongoing in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, the Boko Haram insurgency up north as a result of fertile grounds where, young people are unemployed up north. And so when Boko Haram came, the Boko Haram, militants, they found a fertile ground where they could easily convince these young people. You are just from touring some of the major regions of the country, some of which are the far north region, the north region, and Adamawa region. Can you throw more lights on your visit up north and what you told the young people up there?
Well, what I would first of all like to say is to greet some young people who are making a lot of effort in their different capacities. I want to greet Amadou Prezi in Gaoundere, a young guy who was able to mobilize about 13 different youthful organizations, associations, that we have a very productive and fruitful discussion at the level of Gaoundere with some university students in Gaoundere. I want to greet my brothers who belong to other political parties, that we are doing collective efforts to see that we achieve this change of mindset of youth together, like Diodonechi of the SDF, like Kwajika Bless of the PCRN. I want to also salute my brother Zach Angwabon of CPP, not to forget Mr. Bafon, who was the former National Youth Council president. He's working with the system, but very critical of the system. I think that at this point in time, we must think of inclusiveness, because as of now, no political party in Cameroon, no youth organization have proven to be the solution of the young people. Like you rightly said, most of the insurgencies, most of the security situations in Cameroon is being weight more on the younger generation, or the young people, because in the northwest and southwest, you look at the people that are dying on daily basis, the Amber Boys, the soldiers, people between ages of 19 to maximum 35 that are dying on daily basis. In the far north is the same. Even the accidents that are happening in our routes on daily basis, or other sectors that are affected, all these are affecting young people. But at a particular time, you will want to ask yourself that the young people constitute a very large sector of the economy, a very large portion of the total population. But these are the people who suffer the consequences of actions of the older generation, who at a particular point you see as if there is a clash between a generation and another one that is coming up. Because people who schooled before the 21st century, that's before the year 2000, and people who schooled after this year, they have a different way of seeing life based on the realities of technology, of everything. Now, we implore the young people, as those I've mentioned myself, that our role now is to consolidate ourselves, conscientize the youth that it is our responsibility to replace bad leaders with good ones.
How do you replace the bad leaders? Yes, that is the question many are asking. Most of the young people just fear of you, have the courage to face, the ruling CPDM and the government. So how do you intend to do this?
It is a matter of strategy, Mr. Lasha. It's a matter of mobilization. It's a matter of mindset. It's a matter of choice. The young people need to understand that they have to choose between watching a political program on a TV like My Media Prime TV than watching telenovelas, than watching Nigerian violent content films or Hollywood violent content films. That is a matter of choice. It begins from there. Because when you're watching political programs from people who are more enlightened, you get conscientized. You get to pick up one or two things that you did not know, which might help you to look at constructing the society in a different perspective. It is a matter of joining a political organization. What I always tell youth is that there is no human being on earth that is apolitical. Politics is inherent in every human being, and it is better you participate in it than decisions taken by those who feel that because you have abandoned it to them, they take it and impose on you. So these young people have to participate in a pressure group, a political movement, a political party. And here we are not to do campaign that let people necessarily come to the Popular Action Party, or people come to our youth movement or conversation forums. But
the complaints that some of us who have had the opportunity to talk to some of these people who are governing, they complain that the younger generation, those who have the courage to face them, they are violent. They are politically violent when they want to. Their approach is very, very violent. What do you have to say to this?
All human virtues have a point at which, when it reaches, it becomes a vice. If you exercise courage to the extent that you see a dangerous item and affront it consciously, and knowing that it is a violence, it's going to harm you. So these things come as a result of political formation. It comes of environmental pressure. It comes as a reaction of the governing class. It comes because of the way the governing class treat some of these young people. You cannot imagine, Mr. Lasha, for example, a student in the University of Bamenda, Bambili, who has masters in economics, in politics, in law, in pharmaceutical studies, and will go to the different departments of concourse that they launch, be it under the Ministry of Public Health, be it ENAM, be it EDGARD, and the child knows very well their competitiveness in class, seeing their classmates who did not have the ability to assimilate the knowledge when they were in classroom, managing a position they by merit were supposed to manage, and they are thrown to the backyard simply because of their background, simply because they are unable to afford. So these things too affect people psychologically, and some of these things also come as a result of the management of smaller crises that erupt in youth organizations by the government. Taking the example of the Anglophone crisis, at the beginning of this crisis, we saw how youths were the greater number of the population that were in the streets of Boya Bamenda. The first young man that was killed in this crisis, Akum Julius, on the 1st of October 2016, was a student. And you can imagine, you as a young man,
earlier mentioned Fabrice, you earlier mentioned political formation. Don't you think that these young people were manipulated? They did not actually know what they were doing. Probably they didn't receive enough political formation, like you rightly said, to be able to take the right direction towards, sending away or taking over power in the country, or correcting some of the wrongs of the regime in place. Don't you think probably they were manipulated and misled?
Mr. Lasha Kingsley, I would first of all like to say that, what do you call manipulation? Young people, as young as what age? In as much as they
people are being sold some illusion, like the Amazonian state we are talking about.
Let me come.
Yes.
If you look at any person who has GCE ordinary level, GCE advanced level, up to the stage of going to the university, the person must have studied even in citizenship basic rights, and the person must have also studied.
There are equally responsibilities. You must agree that rights goes alongside responsibilities.
Good. And what you call manipulation is always successful when the people who are manipulated are in a situation of volatility. They are either volatile, or they are either depressed, or they are in a position of shock. Because someone who is conscious, who is good, who is well managed by his leadership, elected or appointed, cannot be manipulated by a third party. So if the manipulation is successful, it's because the population was not well managed by the governing class. The governing class failed in their own duties and responsibility, leaving the population at the mercy of manipulators.
Many people think that life is only you can only make it in life when you are working with the government, which is a wrong ideology that has been implanted into the young person in Cameroon. Many of them don't want to go to the farms. They don't want to go and do fishing, do other activities that are lucrative. Most of them see the public service as the only means of survival.
And this narrative,
this is the problem.
This narrative exists in every country of the world. The younger generation,
for example, in Kenya, they are begging people to work for the government. Beg people to work for the government.
What I want to say that it exists in every country, it depends on the percentage. Young people have their frivolities. Young people have the kind of things that they admire to do, they admire to involve in. The young age is the age where people are in effervescence, they are in boisterousness, and in every country this group must be managed with a lot of care for them not to go out of hand. Now the government went wrong when the promises of the government in the absorption of the youth in their well-designed pro-public sector economy failed. If the youth are unable to make it big in the private sector, it's simply because the public sector has been met by those leading us disrespecting the constitution, public laws, codes governing private and public institutions and organizations in the country, by the mechanisms informally known in Cameroon as connections, as embezzlement, as nepotism, as tribalism. Now, when all these vices are
when you go to school,
by the leaders,
Fabrice, Lena, when you go to school and study history, how do you intend to put food on your table? By
when the government, Mr. Lasha, when the government encourage students at a very tender age to send government delegates and what they always call them superintendents of school to go and orientate students in school that this is art, this is what you will become, this is science, this is what you will become. What are they doing? When Japan wanted to change their country from a consumer state to a capitalist state, a capital goods production state, they have to transform many of the conventional art universities to polytechnics and make students to become people who are job creators by acquiring skills of technology, which is the thing that is governing our today world. But when you see in Cameroon that university professors are begging and manifesting for jobs, you wonder what orientation they will give to primary and secondary school students, even if they are recruited to teach at that basic secondary or higher institute level.
Fabrice, Lena, what is happening today in the northwest and southwest regions of the country is a language problem. The Northwesterner or the people who come from the two English-speaking regions of the country, they are crying that the government was trying to, put schemes that would, kill their common law system, the educational system. What educational system are we talking about? Killing ourselves over language and educational system that is not productive, that cannot put food on the table?
You said that the people of Northwest have language issue. I should reiterate that that may be your opinion, which is not, which is no, it's not factual. It's
no,
not
they are crying. They are crying that
it's not a language problem.
Their educational system.
Yes, good. Say that there is dichotomy between the system managing the country dominated by a French education system, French judicial system, French political system in Yaoundé, imposing its will on all other parts of the country, including people.
Fabrice, let's forget about the French. Let's forget about the French system of education, the English subsystem of education. Was it designed in such a way that it can put food on the table? Is it not this kind of system that people graduate and think that the public service is the only means of survival?
You did a very good comparative study a while ago, saying that Kenya, they are begging people to come to the public sector. They are not. Why? It is the political policies put in place by the party in power defining how to run agricultural sector, health sector, transport sector, and all the other sectors of the economy that has empowered people to be self-sufficient in the private sector. There's no need for such people to go again and be begging job in the government. Same in Nigeria, same in Ghana, same in South Africa, and these countries are doing well. What is the education system? The education system is one that trains you to become self-sufficient, not the contrary of what we are receiving here, that trains you to become ad infinitum dependent.
Okay. Fabrice, Lena, thank you so much for giving a clear three more lights on that issue. But this time around, how should the youths get involved in politics? Politics that will be productive, politics that will be geared towards the revamping of the economy to make sure that life booms. Because often you guys always accuse the regime in place for not creating enough jobs for Cameroonians. Now you want the youths to get involved in politics. What kind of politics should the young people in Cameroon be doing? So that, because most often what we have in the Northwest is as a result of people not being able to put food on their table.
Yeah.
Because if people were happy, if people had the jobs, if people were going about their normal life, they wouldn't be angry and pick up arms to fight the government for not providing for them.
We have concrete proposals for youth. We have youth forums. We have youth forums that are local and those that are national. And these youth forums are aimed at giving weekly, monthly, and yearly political sensitization program for some of us who had the privilege to do political sciences or international relations, that permit us to be apprehensive about the stakes of us participating in politics as youth. So we will transfer this knowledge to the other youth who may not have that privilege to benefit from what we have had. That is the first thing. The second one is that we need to understand that there is no perfect political organization, and there's nothing exists as perfectionist state in the world. So anybody carrying such a propaganda is simply lying. What we need to understand is that as youths, violence has no place in the 21st century. We are in a time of soft power. Soft power is power of pen. Soft power is power of the brain. The ability to convince people to believe in your ideology and take the people to negotiate on behalf of the common man. So these are things that we want the youth to understand, that if we create an umbrella of youths for about 5,000, 10,000, 1 million youths advocating for a particular cause, making the message trending in the social media, in the standard media, and the TV, and contacting the people that matter in the society, in and out of the country. We are going to make our agenda to go through, and government will consider us.
The worries of many Cameroonians right now is to see the bloodshed in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon stop. Are you sure this kind of message you are preaching here, you can stand in Kwakwa, stand in in Fundong, in Belo, in Dob, and preach the kind of message that you are preaching now?
I will always tell anyone that I have 3 values that I don't compromise them. That is credibility, that's courage to tell you what you don't want to hear, which is the truth, and consistency about my program that I've planned to execute as a political leader with followers. How do you intend? And
these people to drop their arms and follow you so that you can form, you can join your party.
The people with arms justify their arms as self-defense. They have their reasons.
From who?
They have their reasons. You don't need to argue that. We are not in a dialogue or negotiation table for them to give you points. No. We are simply saying that they have their reasons. But in the necessary due time,
yes,
there are 2 forms of justice. Human justice, which is limited, and natural justice, which has no limitations.
Yes.
In the necessary due time, anyone doing the right thing in his or her organization, mobilizing with the mindset of changing the society, putting collective interest in front of personal interest, everything will be fine. We don't need to overemphasize of who is doing what, or preaching the right message or not. God protect people who are supposed to be protected.
You should equally be concerned about the well-being of those who are in the northwest and southwest regions of the country.
I'm so concerned.
Recently,
I was in Bamenda
yes,
a few days ago.
There has been a ban on circulation along Bamenda Bingo Fundong route by separatists, as well as Bamenda Ndob route by these separatist fighters, whom you say they are defending themselves and they are protecting the population. How can you be protecting the population and then you go about blocking major roads which leads to, a renowned hospital where people are treated from all over the country? How do you explain that fact, Fabrice, Lena?
There are manifold aspects of looking at it. First of all, you will see that most actions of separatist leaders are counter to that of the government, which means most of the time when government take decision to control the population, they take a counter decision to control the population. They have succeeded in Ghost Town, and government has failed to do that. We are seeing it today.
No, let me come back to you as a young man.
Yeah, I want to come back to your question. What I don't accept is self-destructive measures from whosoever, be it government, be it separatists. Self-destructive measures don't help. I earlier said that violence don't have its place in 21st century. If the manifestations of 2016 had continued to 2018, the narrative of the Anglophone crisis would not have been the same, because the considerations of the international humanitarian NGOs, right groups, and United Nations advocacy groups we had already established some kind of consensus more rapidly than when violent and rebellious groups had already been formed. That is the difference between hard and soft power. I am an advocate of soft power, such that decisions and measures that are self-destructive, when I mean by self-destructive is where someone is lamenting in his house out of hunger because of inaccessibility to food that is spoiling in the farm, in the market, in the stores. I am saying here of the ability of someone to go outside and do an activity and get a bullet and cease to exist because of the decision of people for a cause. However, we need to understand that the manifestation, the exercise of power by the state is ultimate to a population, a territorial delimited area, and a government. And if such a state with a party in power for over some time are unable to see the realities of things that are destroying their own citizens that they are supposed to protect, and they are not taking such measures to protect the citizens, they have failed, and they are supposed to resign and apologize and give way for other people who are more competent enough to protect their citizens to do so. Because blaming some de facto groups of measures and so on is like you are putting them in equal terms, and the government has reduced itself, wherein a historian recording the things that are happening between 2016 to 2021, which will be written in the GC examination of 2030 and above, will tell you that the Amazonian succeeded in making the government to bow. In Bali this time, they banned bikes, they also banned cars, and it succeeded. When they put ghost town, every Monday was ghost town. So you already see factors, successful factors of their measures. But a government that is seeing that these things are succeeding.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
People need to realize that they have made mistakes.
Who are the people? Who are the people to realize?
The head of state of Cameroon, President Paul Biya, he has made mistake
that you pick up arms, you kill 5 police officers.
He has made
a sovereign state. So the president who has been, elected to watch over the constitution of a country, to apologize to you for picking up arms to kill security officers. Is that what you are saying?
I don't know where you are getting your own argument that they pick up arms. People don't just get access to arms like that in the country. If someone just get access to arms in the country, there should be a question mark of the security system of that country.
No, but every country, even in America, you see.
That's why I'm saying that there should be a question mark. There's degree of habit. There is degree of accessibility to arms.
Even in Capitol Hill, we saw armed men who invaded the area.
Those things are fabricated in US and all the country. They are not fabricating guns in Africa or in Cameroon. It is high profile transaction for those things to be brought here.
Fabrice, Lena,
I am saying
if tomorrow you are elected the president,
I am saying that
you are elected the president of the Republic of Cameroon. Let me answer your
first question.
Are you
sure? Come with the second one.
No, I don't want
let me just conclude.
Okay.
You were saying that
yes,
what is the way forward, and the president of the Republic cannot accept that people will.
No, you say the president should apologize, and I'm asking you this: if you are elected the president of the Republic of Cameroon one day, and send people rise up against your reign, are you sure you can stand and apologize to them for trying to tear apart or separate your country?
If I'm elected the president, my management will never reach that level where people will rise against my regime.
Let's assume that.
No, we don't assume. I'm sure of myself. I am very sure of myself. I'm sure of my management capacity. So my regime cannot reach that level where people are carrying out arms against me, because there is what we call proactivity and anticipation of what is coming in front of you. A regime that is not proactive, is not anticipative, is dormant, is reactive, is bound to have these characteristics. Who do you blame? You take responsibility for not performing your function as head of state. I always take this simple example. The Olembe Stadium that is uncompleted and making us to host Nation Cup is just half kilometer from the presidency. But the president of the republic is unable to go there. Everyone does anything he wants to do in his office simply because
physical education.
No. There are things that Mr. Lasha Kingsley, if the CEO of BT Media Group comes to your office, it does not have the same impact as when the managing director comes. There are two different things. The president of the republic is the end decision maker of this country. His presence in a place creates psychological tension to everyone. The lesson is that always try to reconcile with people when they are still alive and when you have the opportunity. Keeping grudges don't help. And politics is tolerance. Politics is leadership of excellence. By example, politics is acknowledging people who refuse to vote you, but leading them with all your heart.
Fabrice Lena, Secretary General of the PAP political party, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on this edition of the program. It was a pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you very much, Lasha Kingsley. I'm grateful to have had this discussion with you, and I want to salute all the youths to say that let's keep on working hard until we find definite solution to the problems affecting our life. It is the time of our life. We have to live the life of our time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.